Career or family? Innovation for tomorrow or stability for today? If these competing demands stress you out, believe me, you are not alone. Our brains literally crave the easy way out, that false comfort of an either-or choice. We just want a clear, simple answer to relieve the tension. But what if picking sides is actually the root of the problem?
Welcome to this explainer of the source material. Today, we're diving into some brilliant concepts from the book Both and Thinking by Wendy K. Smith and Marianne W. Lewis. We're going to see how flipping our mindset from a restrictive either-or approach to a liberating both-and perspective can actually help you solve your toughest problems and activate a virtuous cycle of success.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the trap of either-or choices. Second, the mule and creative integration. Third, the tightrope walker and dynamic balance. And fourth, the ABCD framework for your paradox system. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the either-or trap and falling into a vicious cycle. When we face a dilemma, picking a side gives us this instant rush of short-term relief or efficiency. But ultimately, that oversimplification traps us. We either fall down a rabbit hole of intensification, getting stuck in a deep rut, or we become a wrecking ball, wildly overcorrecting from one extreme to the other without making any real progress.
It's a stark contrast, really. Think about the chaotic, tangled mess of stress that comes from an either-or mindset versus the calm, interdependent harmony of paradox thinking. It's exactly like yin and yang. Opposing forces don't actually have to be at war with each other. They can define and mutually reinforce one another.
Moving to Section 2, the mule, synergizing creative integration and joining forces. To activate a positive cycle here, the authors use a pretty fascinating biological metaphor, the mule. Basically, it's the hybrid offspring that combines a horse's hard-working strength with a donkey's patient endurance, creating something entirely new and incredibly capable. So, when we're dealing with our daily dilemmas, finding a mule means you've discovered a creative integration. It's about finding that synergistic, hybrid option that lets you address two completely opposing needs at the exact same time. It's that rare, elegant win-win scenario where you literally don't have to sacrifice one priority for the other.
But hold on, there's a really crucial caveat here. Think about it. Mules are biologically infertile, right? They cannot breed more mules. So while these creative integrations are super effective, they are, by nature, temporary. Even if you find the perfect win-win today, the underlying paradox, like that constant tug-of-war between work and life, persists. Eventually, that tension is going to rise up again and demand a completely new solution.
Which brings us to Section 3, the tightrope walker, dynamic balance and consistent inconsistency. Because you have to wonder, what happens when a perfect, unified mule just isn't possible? Well, pivoting to the second pattern is absolutely essential for long-term success when you're navigating tensions that simply can't be fully resolved. The crucial thing to remember is that a tightrope walker doesn't survive by standing completely still. If they try to achieve a static, motionless balance, they will inevitably fall. No way around it. Instead, they move forward through dynamic balance. They're constantly shifting their weight back and forth, continuously moving slightly left and slightly right, all while keeping their eyes locked on the horizon. If a high-wire tightrope feels a little too dangerous, just think about everyday stuff, like riding a bike or sailing a boat. Making those consistent micro-shifts between opposing sides becomes your natural rhythm for moving forward without falling over. Sometimes you lean a bit more into your career, sometimes a bit more into family time. You aren't making massive polarizing choices, but rather small, continuous adjustments that keep you upright and moving optimally.
And finally, Section 4, the ABCD framework, paradox systems, and your toolkit. Now that we understand the goals, breeding mules and walking tightropes, how do we actually execute this in real life? We need a practical toolkit. Enter the paradox system.
The paradox system is made up of 4 interwoven pillars: assumptions, boundaries, comfort, and dynamics. Notice how these target both our external environment and our internal psychology. To successfully navigate paradoxes, we need all 4 of these tools working together to shift how we think, how we feel, and how we act.
Let's break them down. It starts with A for assumptions. We literally have to shift our underlying mindsets first. We need to accept that there can be multiple truths. Instead of viewing resources as scarce, we have to reframe them as abundant. And honestly, most importantly, we have to view problem solving as a way to creatively adapt to our tensions, rather than trying to forcefully control or eliminate them. It's like stepping off the dance floor and walking up to the balcony to see the bigger picture.
Next up is B for boundaries. These are the structures we build around ourselves to contain the tension. By setting a higher purpose and strict guardrails, we stabilize the uncertainty. These boundaries stop us from swinging way too far to one side and becoming that destructive wrecking ball we talked about earlier. They give us the safety net we need to navigate the tightrope.
The third pillar is C for comfort. Now, paradoxes naturally trigger anxiety and defensiveness in us. It's just human nature to want to flee from that feeling. But we have to learn to find comfort in the discomfort. We do this by deliberately building in a pause, taking a deep breath to anchor ourselves before we react, allowing ourselves to just accept the tension without immediately trying to fix it.
Finally, D for dynamics. To avoid getting stuck in a rut, we need constant movement. That means encouraging continuous learning, taking measured steps through small, low-cost experiments, and just staying open to serendipity. Dynamism keeps us agile. It ensures we're constantly learning to unlearn so we can keep shifting our weight as the winds of our environment change.
When you put this whole shebang together, you realize something pretty cool. The ABCD system itself is a paradox. It beautifully unites the stability of boundaries with the continuous change of dynamics, and the rational mind of assumptions with the emotional heart of comfort. It's a dynamic loop that literally turns our greatest tensions into our greatest strengths.
So I want to leave you with this provocative thought for your very next life dilemma. How are you going to navigate it? Will you search for a mule, that brilliant but temporary creative integration? Or will you step up and embrace the consistent inconsistency of the tightrope walker? It's time to step away from that either-or trap. Embrace the discomfort of complexity and start putting this both-and framework into practice today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep balancing.